Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Juice WRLD album, Fighting Demons. This is the second posthumous record from rapper, singer, and songwriter Juice WRLD, who passed tragically in 2019, but we have been getting a steady stream of new music ever since. There was last year's Legends Never Die, which actually shaped up to be one of his better albums overall, which I think was a testament to his talent, and also it seemed like a lot of care going into making sure that his artistic and musical legacy remained intact. I don't think I need to remind you guys of how many artists we've unfortunately lost over the past 5 years and how many mediocre and somewhat unfinished posthumous records have followed just maybe months later. But like I said, Legends was a sufficient display of Juice's style, his abilities, and the general themes that painted his lyricism. However, I'm not as hopeful for this second posthumous record to turn out as consistent. There are some tracks on this thing that lead me to believe that we're beginning to scrape the bottom of the barrel here in terms of like workable, shareable songs. Still, Fighting Demons is a listenable album overall, thankfully, but there are some general issues that I had with it. For one, the features here bring absolutely nothing to the project and were nowhere near as essential as they were on Legends. The Bieber performance is profoundly forgettable, not to mention it lands on a track that has one of the worst vocal mixes for Juice. The hooks are just mushy with reverb too, and the claps are super dry. Juice, Polo G, and Trippie Redd are pretty complementary stylistically on felines, but this is easily one of the most one-dimensional songs on the entire thing. And Suga of BTS's performance on Girl of My Dreams is just mumbly and underwhelming. But really the worst thing this track has going for it is the beat. The nostalgic 80s soundtrack guitars and synths I'm not sure work all that well with the very plain basic trap perks. Also, the vocals are so pitch corrected it sucks any soul out of the harmonies. And that's not the only beat on this thing I have an issue with. Generally, I think the production here is very unseasoned, or in most cases just very typical considering the stuff Juice has put out in the past. With so many songs hitting that similar guitar-driven, moody, emo, trap pocket, there's not a lot of room for variety on this thing, and even when there are some nuances, they don't always make sense. Like Relocate, for example, which is a song that I love thematically. I love what Juice is saying and talking about on this song, but does the pedal steel in the distance on the verses fit all that well with the twinkling, spaced out emo guitars? Not really. I'm not even sure why it's there, especially since it's so quiet, it's barely even audible, but it sort of just sounds like another song entirely is playing in the background. I also want to talk about the content and performances on these songs. As Juice famously freestyled, a lot of his material or the ideas for it were kind of forged in an improvisational space. And the process of going off the top is certainly valid, but it also requires a very strong filter to make sure that you're only putting out your best stuff. But now on this project, it feels like we're kind of putting out whatever to just get more tracks packed into this. The performance on the Comatose Go Hard feels so disconnected for Juice, it's actually slightly awkward to listen to. Also, the track obviously feels very unfinished, with a second verse being cut away and things ending pretty shortly after the first. And Rockstar in his prime feels a little awkward to listen to at this point, given the context of Juice's death. I get there are a lot of songs on this thing where Juice is dealing in issues of drugs and addiction, depression, but the framing on this one doesn't quite line up with the tragic angle of most of the songs here, which, you know, rightfully many of the songs on here should have a tragic angle, I think. Plus, I don't see this as a track where lyrically or vocally Juice was at his best. Maybe to a degree showing some of these flaws and this emotional darkness is intentional, as it does seem like there is a narrative to Fighting Demons when we take the content of the songs as a whole. It seems like Juice's team, the people curating this record, are trying to turn this album into a teachable moment, especially considering the spoken word parts with Juice and Eminem. The record's core tracks dive into themes of addiction and death pretty hard, and, you know, some serious highlights do come out of that process. There's Burn, which is an incredible, huge, string-kissed cinematic intro, but as far as like performance goes, lyrical focus, and instrumental ambition, don't expect this record to hit this high point again. You Wouldn't Understand, I think, has one of the more unique flows on the entire project. The persistent rhythm and anger in Juice's flow and voice is exhilarating, and the kind of melting, twinkling keys peppering the beat are a nice touch. And Until the Plug Comes Back Around is easily the most tragic song on the entire record, a vivid display lyrically of the cycle of addiction and dependency that Juice found himself in. Not enough sees Juice going in a pretty solid pop rock direction. Maybe it's not a track for everyone, but I do think it is a good song all around and goes to show just how naturally the sounds of hip-hop and rock and emo flowed together for Juice. It's definitely better than an MGK track, I'll say that. So while I was happy to hear some good quality tracks on this project, overall as a vision, Fighting Demons I think is a little lacking and kind of a mess. While I do appreciate the effort in putting together a vibe, a feeling, a narrative, a message amongst the tracks here, there are just so many songs with subpar mixes, subpar beats, subpar features, subpar vocal and lyrical performances from Juice. Mind you, it's not on every track all these aspects are aligning. Some songs may have a pretty decent beat, but maybe not like the best verse. Some songs may have a pretty good tune at their core, but maybe not the best mix, which honestly is just not the quality level that I would hope a Juice project would be at, especially since we're kind of dipping in for a second time to drop another posthumous album. I guess all I can hope for is that if there is enough material for a third record, that it is, combed over a little more carefully and groomed for, a better presentation, and that, Juice's loved ones are seeing the benefit of these projects coming out. Feeling a strong 4 to a light 5 on this one, Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head, it's another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Juice WRLD, forever.